In the end, others made fortunes with his inventions, and he wound up penniless and rejected.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most shocking and scintillating secrets that died with their famous keepers.
The characteristic of a Strat in general is that it has a silvery tone, and it creates this incredibly sweet tone.
Number 20, Sir Edward Elgar.
Perhaps the greatest English composer since Handel, Edward Elgar.
Music has a way of conveying messages that may never be revealed with the spoken word. Though Sir Edward Elgar penned multiple pieces throughout his career, none have been as intriguing as enigma variations. Beyond the musical content you hear on the surface, there are also supposed hidden melodies interwoven throughout the different movements. The secret lies within the title itself, with people trying to figure out exactly what the enigma is. Elgar even left hints within his lifetime, prompting several people to try and guess. However, no one came close, and eventually the truth died with him. While the melody remains a mystery, it's also added an air of intrigue that has allowed the theme to live on long after the composer. Number 19, James Black. Even something as small as a knife can be shrouded in mystery. In 1830, a blacksmith named James Black crafted a weapon for Jim Bowie, a famed knife fighter who used it to take 3 lives.
Jim Bowie's story is forever enshrined at the Alamo where he died. But his fame and legend began years earlier in a knife fight on a Louisiana sandbar.
This led to others wanting one, and Black complied. However, the exact process he used was elusive, with everything being done behind a curtain. Customers were mystified by how they were both tough and incredibly flexible at the same time, a combination that should have been impossible. Some even theorized that he had somehow learned an ancient technique. Unfortunately, a series of personal tragedies led to him forgetting the exact method, and after his death, some began to question if he had any hand in the original at all. Number 18, Richard A. Moore. There's no worse feeling than realizing you hit a dead end on a conundrum. Journalist Robert Parry dedicated his career to exposing the truth behind the 1980 October surprise, a theory that claimed the Republican Party prevented hostages in Iran from coming home until Ronald Reagan was inaugurated.
52 American hostages who'd been held in Tehran for more than a year were released immediately after President Reagan took office.
Parry always believed that George H.W. Bush and William Casey had secret meetings with the Iranian government, but the two always had an alibi witness.
Those close to Bill Casey have never denied those meetings. Indeed, they say the plot was typical of the man.
This party, later revealed to be lawyer Richard A. Moore, was the only one who could have confirmed if the two were at the meeting. However, his death in 1995 confirmed that the truth would remain unknown, and Parry's own passing in 2018 ended the investigation entirely.
If Bush was involved, this becomes Watergate.
Number 17, Jan Slout. Dying before your invention can come to fruition is awful for many reasons. In 1995, Jan Slout claimed to create a coding system with the ability to compress data into a smaller size. This was a feat that went against everything previously understood about the technology at the time. Just before he could finalize a deal, he died of a heart attack. Investors attempted to move forward with the plan only to learn that a floppy disk containing a key component of the program had gone missing. They were never able to find it, leading to the idea dying with its creator. Number 16, Freddy Mercury.
In life, Freddie Mercury said he didn't have any real friends. At his funeral, they had to employ extra security to keep them away.
In life, he was a highly publicized figure that loved the spotlight. In death, however, he yearned for the opposite. Following Freddie Mercury's passing in 1991, he had a public funeral service that was attended by friends, family, and celebrities.
Freddie's death from AIDS stunned the world, but none more so than the other members of Queen, there to mourn the loss of the man they call the greatest and most beloved member of our family.
However, rather than be buried, he opted for cremation again. He entrusted his ashes to his closest friend, Mary Austin, and only told her where to bury them. To this day, she hasn't told a soul about his final resting place. While some of Mercury's fans claim to have cracked the code, there has never been any confirmation that they're correct. Austin's commitment to his final request has ensured that he finally had some privacy. Number 15, Edward Leedskalnin.
Using but the most primitive of tools, he handles huge 15-ton pieces of coral rock with the greatest of ease. This is his life work.
There are some accomplishments so incredible that it's hard to fathom how they could have happened. Florida's Coral Castle is the ultimate example of this. The architectural feat is still unknown, as there are several roadblocks he should have faced along the way. It consists of over 1,000 tons of oolite, which is typically only found deep underground. The stones were then placed on top of one another with nothing to bond them together, yet the spaces between them were non-existent.
Building a great stone city that he hopes will stand for thousands of years.
When asked, Leedskalnin claimed to know the same secrets used to build the Great Pyramids. Both he and the site are now enshrouded in mystery, with some hypothesizing that he had made the materials levitate. Number 14. Aren Goder.
Throughout 6 centuries, the Ghent altarpiece has been burned, forged, and raided in 3 different wars.
Even famed art pieces aren't safe from thieves, and the Ghent altarpiece is no exception. It's made up of several parts which have been damaged and seized since its inception. In 1934, the panel depicting the Just Judges was taken, and the details are still a complete mystery. In fact, nothing was known at all until a potential suspect, Aren Goder, made a sudden deathbed confession. He claimed to know the whereabouts of the missing piece and even said he wrote down the location, which ended up being another ruse.
While on his deathbed a year after the theft, revealed an unsent ransom note. It reads, "It rests in a place where neither I nor anybody else can take it away without arousing the attention of the public."
While it's assumed that he was the perpetrator, it's still unknown if he had help or how he succeeded. As for the panel, it's still missing, and it seems it may never be found. Number 13, Bing Crosby.
Sad news. Bing Crosby died today while playing golf near Madrid, Spain. He was 73.
A celebrity being involved in some shady dealings may come as no surprise. However, even those who claim to be family-friendly held dark secrets, some of which were only revealed posthumously.
We're taught and taught and taught to do the things we ought.
Bing Crosby was a highly respected musician and actor, but even he had a dark past that was eventually uncovered. In 1999, over 20 years after his death, the FBI let it be known that the performer had been indebted to one shady character in particular. He had received letters threatening his life if he didn't pay $10,000 to an unknown mobster. While those details have been released, who the letters were coming from still remains under wraps. Number 12, Benjamin Franklin. This founding father had a bit of a reputation with the ladies, and in the process ended up with a son of mysterious origin. Franklin was very secretive about who William's mother was. Some suspect that he was born before Ben married Deborah Reed, making him illegitimate. Another theory posits that he was the result of one of Franklin's many escapades with sex workers. William Franklin did make a name for himself by helping his father in his famous kite experiment, opposing him in the Revolutionary War and eventually settling in England.
My father, Benjamin, promoted rebellion, while I worked for reconciliation, for my persistent loyalty to the crown.
Even so, his mother's name was never released. Number 11, Jimmy Savile.
Everyone was bedazzled by him. He was like a conjurer. He mesmerized people. We trusted him.
Sometimes it's the ones you suspect the most that are guilty. During his multi-decade career in British television, Jimmy Savile had been hit with multiple allegations of abuse. While those were eventually dismissed, the ones made after his death weren't so easily brushed under the rug. Investigations began almost immediately afterwards, and hundreds of people came forward to finally share their alleged experiences.
Why did it take that long for this to all come out?
All the clues were there, in plain sight.
The findings were worse than anyone could have imagined, with reports of him hurting minors and even abusing corpses. Though no physical proof was found, word of mouth was plenty of evidence for some, and his reputation was subsequently destroyed. The true extent of his crimes may never be known, but at the very least, he faced some posthumous consequences.
I expressed my concern about the lettering on the front of the headstone. It was good while it lasted. Is offensive, and it will be offensive for all time.
Number 10, Captain William Thompson. In 1820, during the Peruvian War of Independence, the city of Lima needed to keep its riches secure and decided to move the fortune to Mexico. Captain William Thompson and his crew were to transfer the treasure, valued at around $208 million, but they went rogue, killing the guards and priests on board and snagging the loot for themselves. They supposedly buried it on Cocos Island, near modern-day Costa Rica, but were then captured. Thompson and his first mate were allowed to live if they showed the treasure's location to the Spanish. When they got to the island, though, they escaped and were never heard from again, taking the secret of the treasure's location with them. Number 9, Alan Turing.
One of the greatest mathematical minds of the 20th century.
Some geniuses leave this earth without ever being truly recognized. There's no better example than Alan Turing, whose work with Ultra went unknown for nearly 3 decades. During World War II, the designation decoded ciphers that reportedly shaved years off the conflict, saving countless lives as a result.
Turing's contribution to the codebreakers was quite simply vital to the war effort.
Turing and his colleagues' work was unknown, with no explanation given as to why it was hidden. In 1974, the program was finally made public, but by that point, Turing had already been outed, arrested, and convicted on an indecency charge, leading to him taking his own life in 1954. He would never see the way he or his work was celebrated, and today the government still won't reveal why they hid the intelligence from the world. Number 8. Maurice Ward. Back in the 1980s, ex-hairdresser Maurice Ward invented something that could have changed the world. After the Manchester air crash, Ward was inspired and began mixing non-toxic, heat-resistant plastics. Eventually, he produced a material with amazing heat-dissipating properties. This invention, named Starlight by his granddaughter, could withstand blowtorches and lasers. Although numerous companies contacted him regarding the formula, Ward declined to sell, believing Starlight to be too valuable.
I think Maurice was very, very bothered about knowledge leaking out. He wanted to own it. He, in fact, wanted Starlight to be his.
He unfortunately passed away in 2011, taking his secret with him. Not even his wife or kids seem to know how to replicate it, and so it seems Starlight has faded into the night.
His end goal was to, in fact, get something like £10 billion dumped on him so that he could just do it. No one's going to do that.
Number 7. Johan Bessler. Many inventors have tried to create a perpetual motion machine, but most have failed. Hundreds of years ago, however, Johan Bessler, aka Orpheus, may very well have done it, or so he claimed. Back in 1712, the German innovator showed off a self-spinning wheel that was able to lift weight off the ground and keep going. By 1717, word of his invention had spread, captivating scientists and common folk alike. Bessler's wheel was said to have spun for 54 days straight with no energy source. Being extremely paranoid, however, he destroyed the machine, and in 1745, Bessler fell off a windmill to his death. Number 6. Pope St. John Paul II.
John Paul II left an indelible mark on the world, a mark that, even 20 years after his death, remains profoundly tangible.
In the Catholic Church, the Pope appoints cardinals. However, on rare occasions, cardinals are named in pectore, signifying in the breast. This means the Pope names them in secret, a move typically made when the clergyman in question is from a hostile country where such a position could put them in danger. During his lifetime, Pope John Paul II appointed and later revealed in pectore cardinals from China, Ukraine, and Latvia. A fourth was appointed, but John Paul II passed away before the cardinal was made public. As a result, this cardinal's appointment technically expires, and we're left to guess who the Pope had selected. Number 5. Ludvig von Beethoven. After famous composer Ludwig von Beethoven died in 1827, a love letter addressed to the German's immortal beloved was found.
Even in bed, my ideas turn toward you, immortal beloved.
Beethoven had written the 10-page letter around 1812, but who was his beloved? Scholars suggest it could have been Antonia Brentano, despite Ludwig being good friends with her husband. Others propose Countess Josephine Brunswick as the most likely candidate. Beethoven had written her many love letters, but because he was of lower social standing, she could never be open about their relationship, and eventually pulled away. Theorists have suggested other potential recipients, but only Beethoven knew the real answer.
Never doubt the faithfulest heart of your beloved Ludwig.
Number 4. Antonio Stratavari. No one could make him like Stratavari, literally. Italian Antonio Stratavari was known for crafting stringed instruments, violins in particular, that produced exceptional sound.
The characteristic of a Strat in general is that it has a silvery tone, and it creates this incredibly sweet tone. So if you were
But how did he craft these remarkable instruments? Well, Stratavari died without leaving any notes, so his secret is lost to us. Scientists believe it was a mix of the shape, the resins, glues, and varnishes, but haven't been able to replicate it. Stratavari made around 1,100 instruments, but only 650 are still around, and they fetch exorbitant prices. His Messiah Stradivarius, made in 1716, is valued at an estimated $20 million. Clearly, everyone's mad for Strats.
It's not a tool. It is a part, it's a total extension of me.
Number 3. Ara Berling. This is code cracking at its finest. Back in 1940, as part of their expansion, Germany set their sights on Norway. As a countermeasure, Russia was trying to take Finland. Sandwiched in between, the neutral Swedes feared for their safety. Listening to the German Siemens and Hauske T-52 secret teletypewriter, they attempted to decipher what was considered the most impossible code to crack at the time. Then, only 2 weeks after being assigned the task, mathematician Ara Berling solved the riddle using nothing more than paper and pen. Having cracked the code, Berling enabled the Swedes to create a device to decipher the code. What he refused to divulge, however, was how he cracked it. Number 2. Jerome of Sandy Cove. This man was basically one big secret. He was found on a beach in Nova Scotia but proved incapable of speech, possibly due to brain injury. When asked his name, he reportedly responded with something that sounded like Jerome, and that stuck. That's not all though. He was found with both legs amputated to the knee but bandaged. Some suspect that he was a sailor who had got his legs chopped off for mutiny. One historian tied him to the story of a European man who suffered from gangrene in New Brunswick. He was moved from family to family and died in 1912 without ever telling his story. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Nikola Tesla.
In the end, others made fortunes with his inventions, and he wound up penniless and rejected.
Inventor and engineer Nikola Tesla wanted to change the world by providing wireless energy across the globe. To do this, he would build the Wardenclyffe Tower, financed by JP Morgan, and use Earth's atmosphere as a conductor to make the dream a reality. Unfortunately, he faced skepticism from investors and the press. With JP Morgan refusing further funding and Tesla himself in debt, the project fell apart, thus marking the beginning of the end for Nikola Tesla. When he died in 1943, his plans for global wireless electricity and countless other concepts died within him.
All great artists, and Tesla saw himself as an artist, feel that they're instruments of a higher purpose, and Tesla certainly felt that he was working along those lines.
Which of these secrets would you love to reveal once and for all? Let us know in the comments below.